Our President Dr. Moizu unveils a sweeping set of budgetary and administrative reforms aimed at bolstering the capacity and influence of Women's Development Committees (WDCs) across the Maldives. President Dr. Moizu announces a comprehensive reform to the fiscal block grant formula used to allocate funds to local councils. According to newly released figures from the Ministry of Finance and Planning, the government spent $220.52 million on debt servicing during the second quarter of 2025. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Minha Maroof. President Dr. Mohamed Moizu unveils a sweeping set of budgetary and administrative reforms aimed at bolstering the capacity and influence of Women's Development Committees (WDCs) across the Maldives. The changes, which will be reflected in the 2026 state budget, include a doubling of financial allocations, a revised mechanism for Ramadan allowances, and a broader reassessment of the fiscal formula governing block grants. The announcement, made via the President's official X account, confirmed that WDCs will receive 10% of council budgets beginning in the 2026 fiscal year, up from the current 5%. This increase is intended to strengthen the committee's operational reach and reinforce their role in local governance. Adjustments to member compensation were also outlined, with Ramadan allowances set to be issued directly from council budgets beginning next year, replacing the previous practice of drawing from WDC's operational funds. Introduced only last year under the administration of President Moizu, the allowance has now been elevated to the status of an official salary, reflecting the government's formal recognition of committee members' contributions. These reforms align with President Moizu's broader agenda, which places particular emphasis on empowering WDCs and island councils as pillars of decentralized governance. The timing of the announcement coincides with preparations for the 2026 state budget. As part of this process, the Ministry of Finance and Planning is reviewing the fiscal formula that determines block grants, an essential source of funding for local councils. Councils have been instructed to submit detailed medium-term budgetary information by 18 September. Once submissions are received, the proposed budget will be presented to the Cabinet of Ministers between 19th and 23rd October. The final estimated state budget for 2026 is scheduled for submission to Parliament on 30th October. President Dr. Mohamed Moizu announces a comprehensive reform to the fiscal block grant formula used to allocate funds to local councils, aiming to correct structural imbalances that have disadvantaged islands with small populations but large geographic footprints. The revised formula, set to be introduced in the 2026 state budget, will incorporate island size as a key factor in determining allocations. Under the current system, which relies primarily on population figures, many councils receive insufficient funding to manage essential municipal services. Islands with fewer residents often span considerable land areas, requiring substantial resources for cleaning, maintenance, and infrastructure refurbishment. This mismatch has led to reduced per capita funding, limiting councils' ability to hire adequate staff and offer fair wages to municipal employees. The President confirmed that the revised formula will be formally presented as part of the 2026 state budget. Block grants are a critical financial instrument for councils, enabling them to carry out development work and maintain public infrastructure. These services, often managed by contract employees, include the upkeep of public spaces and general municipal operations. Councils have long reported that the current formula hampers their ability to meet these demands. Municipal workers and council members have consistently raised concerns about inadequate compensation, attributing the issue to the limitations of the existing budgetary model. The proposed changes are expected to ease these constraints, allowing councils to expand their workforce and adjust wages for current employees. The reform is projected to improve the delivery of services across island jurisdictions. President Moizu also announced a separate initiative to strengthen Women's Development Committees (WDCs). These changes, which will also be reflected in the 2026 state budget, including a doubling of financial allocations and a revised mechanism for Ramadan allowances. According to newly released figures from the Ministry of Finance and Planning, the government spent $220.52 million on debt servicing during the second quarter of 2025. The ministry's quarterly debt bulletin places the nation's total public and publicly guaranteed debt at $9.66 billion, an amount equivalent to 124% of the country's gross domestic product (GDP). In the same period, $168.63 million were disbursed to support development projects across key sectors. Officials described the spending as a reflection of fiscal discipline and a commitment to long-term economic stability. They said the figures underscored the administration's ability to secure financing for national priorities while maintaining regular repayment obligations, a combination they believe strengthens investor confidence. The GDP was revised to $7.79 billion by the end of the quarter, with the exchange rate holding steady at 15.42 Maldivian rupiah to US dollar. Debt composition under the Budgetary Central Government (BCG) reveals a calculated balance between domestic and external borrowing. Domestic sources accounted for $5.54 billion, while external financing totaled $2.75 billion. According to the ministry, this dual-track strategy is designed to reinforce financial resilience and ensure the sustainable mobilization of resources for future investment. Among external creditors, the Exim Bank of India remains the largest, with $596.62 million in outstanding liabilities. Sovereign bonds issued to foreign entities present the second largest obligation, accounting to $499.35 million. The Exim Bank of China ranks third, with $473.55 million owed during the same period. State-guaranteed debt stood at $1.37 billion, or 17.6% of GDP. According to officials, this figure reflects prudent oversight of guarantees extended to state-owned enterprises, highlighting the government's broader commitment to responsible fiscal governance. The Ministry of Tourism and Environment intensifies its efforts under the government's flagship 5 million tree planting program, initiating the distribution of Havakuru teak saplings to 7 atolls in a sweeping bid to strengthen the nation's environmental defenses and address the growing threat of climate change. Launched on 5th June last year by President Dr. Mohamed Moizu, the program is a cornerstone of the administration's strategy to restore the Maldives' natural landscape and expand its green cover across the country. To carry out the latest phase, the Environment Ministry has appointed the Maldives Transport and Contracting Company (MTCC) to deliver saplings to islands in the Wavu, Fafu, Nunu, Lamu, Ta, Gaf Alif and Gaf Dal atolls. The teak tree, once widespread in the region, has been identified as a species at risk of disappearing. Its reintroduction is central to the government's ecological restoration efforts. The initiative reflects a broader national commitment to environmental stewardship. Beyond increasing vegetation, it is designed to mitigate the intensifying effects of atmospheric shifts and climate disruption on the low-lying island nation. Support for the campaign has extended beyond national borders. Sri Lanka has donated a substantial number of teak saplings, which are being planted not only on inhabited islands but also at resorts and designated zones surrounding airports. The Environment Ministry has previously outlined its vision for Havakuru trees to serve as distinctive landmarks across all islands, symbolizing a unified effort towards environmental renewal. Progress has been steady. More than 650,000 trees have already been planted under the program. While the original target was 5 million, officials now anticipate the total could reach 6.4 million, citing sustained momentum and strong participation from private companies offering significant assistance. The Maldives welcomes nearly 1.5 million tourists this year, placing the island nation on track to meet its ambitious target of 2.3 million arrivals by the close of 2025. According to the Ministry of Tourism and Environment's latest tourism update, 1,496,563 international visitors had entered the country as of 2nd September. Achieving the remaining goals set by the government will require an additional 803,437 arrivals over the final 120 days of the year. That translates to a daily average of 6,695 tourists, a figure government officials believe is within reach. The coming months mark the high season for the Maldives, a period historically associated with elevated travel demand and increased international traffic. Tourism from China has played a pivotal role in driving this year's numbers. With 236,654 arrivals, China leads all source markets. Russia follows with 178,958 visitors, while the United Kingdom ranks third at 134,676. Italy and Germany complete the top 5, contributing 107,013 and 103,342 tourists respectively. Expectations for continued growth extend beyond the current year. The Maldives Monetary Authority has projected 2.4 million tourist arrivals for 2024, citing infrastructure improvements as a key factor. Among the most significant developments is the opening of a new passenger terminal at Valana International Airport, which is anticipated to expand capacity and streamline international arrivals. Maldives Immigration inaugurates a new public outreach program dubbed Immigration Insights, designed to clarify common misconceptions about its services and enhance accessibility for both local and foreign residents. The initiative, launched by Minister of Homeland Security and Technology Ali Ihsan, is part of a broader effort to strengthen the quality of immigration services. The program, which will be rolled out this month, will utilize short videos and social media posts to communicate crucial information designed to make complex processes easy to understand for everyone. According to Controller General of Immigration Ahmad Fasih, the program will cover a range of frequently misunderstood topics. Immigration Insights will explain common procedures such as the specific photo requirements for passport applications, the purpose of a sponsorship declaration, and the steps involved in applying for a dependent visa. In conjunction with this initiative, Maldives Immigration has also launched 3 new internal campaigns for its officers to further improve service delivery. These internal campaigns focuses on serving with a smile, a focus on improving customer service and engagement, promoting integrity, reinforcing honesty and ethical standards within the department, and maintaining humanity, emphasizing the importance of treating all service users with respect, equality, and dignity. The launch of Immigration Insights is a key part of the department's strategy to enhance public trust through increased transparency and improved communication. By actively providing clarity on services, Maldives Immigration hopes to make the user experience more efficient and stress-free. The department noted that the video content will feature immigration officers explaining the procedures in detail, providing a direct and authoritative source of information. The program is expected to become an important resource for anyone seeking to navigate immigration processes in the Maldives. A comprehensive study on the juvenile justice system conducted by Advocating the Rights of Children (ARC) and UNICEF proposes a new approach to combating child exploitation. The study recommends that individuals who exploit children for criminal activities, particularly gang leaders, be fined, with the proceeds dedicated to rehabilitating child offenders. The findings of the study were released during a conference on the juvenile justice system organized by the Prosecutor General's office. The study identified the exploitation of children by gangs as a primary factor contributing to juvenile delinquency in the country. Gangs are reportedly using children to commit serious offenses such as drug trafficking, assault, and property damage because the penalties for juveniles are significantly lighter. This practice, according to the research, often involves minors who are below the age of criminal responsibility. Police statistics included in the study show an alarming number of child abuse cases. Between 1st January 2022 to March of this year, 942 cases of child abuse were reported, though only 100 were submitted for prosecution. The study also highlighted that children involved in gangs often come from families facing significant financial and social challenges. To address this, the study proposes a system where individuals who exploit children are heavily fined or have their property confiscated. The funds generated would then be used for rehabilitating young offenders, noting that this is a practice used in other countries. The study emphasized that the long-term physical and psychological damage caused by exposing children to crime requires significant government investment to resolve, making such fines a crucial source of funding. Under the current Child Rights Protection Act, exploiting a child carries a penalty of 3 years in jail. In addition to financial measures, the study outlined several other strategies for strengthening the juvenile system and steering children away from crime. Key recommendations include the following: preventing gang and drug trafficking, as the study stressed that curbing these activities is one of the most critical steps to protecting children. Amending legislation, the study called for legislative changes to establish a culture of accountability for crimes involving children. Holistic approach, as the research concluded that a sustainable solution requires a multi-pronged approach that includes social protection, education, adequate housing for families, and stronger law enforcement. And research papers from various institutions involved in the juvenile justice system were also published at the conference, detailing the challenges and proposing solutions to existing issues. Danish offshore wind developer Ørsted Co. cuts its 2025 profit outlook, just hours before it is poised to secure shareholder approval for a $9.4 billion emergency rights issue as it seeks to avert a looming credit downgrade. Once celebrated as a trailblazer in offshore wind, the state-controlled group now finds itself in dire straits, grappling with industry-wide challenges as risks pile up on its U.S. projects due to President Donald Trump's opposition to wind power. Adding to its troubles, low wind speeds in July and August and a delay to a project under construction off Taiwan prompted it to cut its operating profit outlook for 2025. The stakes are high for the Danish firm, which has transformed itself from oil producer Dong Energy into a global renewables leader, its market value increasing fivefold between its 2016 IPO and a 2021 peak. But supply chain disruptions, surging interest rates, project delays, and the Trump's anti-wind policies have battered the offshore wind sector, sending Ørsted's shares tumbling by 85% from their peak. At the heart of the drama are Ørsted's U.S. projects Sunrise Wind and Revolution Wind, both of which have been thrown into uncertainty. The extraordinary general meeting is scheduled to begin at 7 GMT at Copenhagen. The rights issue will likely be approved with a 2/3 majority. Media in France joins others around the world in publishing banners on their front pages and websites, highlighting the killing of journalists in Gaza and calling for protection for their surviving colleagues as part of a protest organized by Reporters Without Borders (RSF) and non-profit organization AVA. RSF's global director Thibaut Brutin said 220 journalists had been killed in Gaza since Israel launched its genocide in October 2023, after fighters from Hamas, the Palestinian freedom fighters in control of the territory, attacked Israeli communities, killing 1,200 people and capturing more than 250 hostages as a result of years of Israeli aggression against Palestinians. Britain said at least 56 journalists had been deliberately targeted by the Israeli military, according to information gathered by RSF.
Since the beginning of the war in Gaza, 220 journalists have been killed. Among the 220, we consider that 56 of them at least have been targeted by the Israel Defense Forces. That's why we are calling on the international community to put an end to that impunity cycle, and we are also promoting a solidarity campaign among news media across the world in order to express solidarity with Palestinian journalists at risk.
Britain said more than 260 media outlets from 72 countries had joined the campaign, and many Palestinian journalists still working in Gaza were seeking evacuation from the territory. On August 25th, Israel struck Nasser Hospital in the south of the Gaza Strip, killing at least 20 people, including 5 journalists who work for Reuters, the Associated Press, Al Jazeera, and others, drawing widespread international criticism. Israel's military action has killed 63,000 people, damaged or destroyed most buildings in the territory, and forced nearly all its residents to flee their homes at least once. A global hunger monitor relied on by the United Nations says parts of the territory are now suffering a man-made famine. France captain Kylian Mbappé calls for elite footballers to be given more time off as fixture lists grow year on year. Speaking ahead of Le Blues' opening 2026 World Cup qualifier against Ukraine, Mbappé said it's impossible for top players to be at their best for 60 games a season. Mbappé's recovery time this off-season was cut short due to Real's involvement in the expanded Club World Cup, with little over a month separating their semi-final exit on July 9th from their first match of the new La Liga campaign on August 12th. France's run to the 2025 UEFA Nations League finals in June means they were one of 24 European teams not to have played a World Cup qualifier yet heading into the current international break. The two-time world champions take on Ukraine in Poland's Wrocław in their Group D opener, with the war-torn nation unable to host matches on home soil. Japanese director Mamoru Hosoda brings his new animated film, Scarlet, about a sword-fighting princess on a quest for revenge to the Venice Film Festival. It is produced by Studio Chizu, the Tokyo studio co-founded by Hosoda that is behind his previous 4 films, including 2011's Belle and the Oscar-nominated Mirai. Hosoda's latest film follows the pink-haired medieval princess Scarlet, voiced in Japanese by Mana Ashida, as she wanders through a strange purgatory world seeking vengeance against the evil uncle who killed her father and stole his throne. A skilled fighter, Scarlet battles her uncle's armies, but along the way she encounters an idealistic man from the future, voiced by Masaki Okada, who opens her eyes to the possibility of a different path. Speaking at a press conference ahead of the film's out-of-competition premiere, Hosoda said he wanted to create a revenge drama that also included themes of forgiveness. The film combines traditional and computer-generated animation to produce a modern aesthetic. And that's all we have for now. Thank you for watching. Wish you all a pleasant day ahead.